Good evening. Welcome to the May 18th regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees. This meeting is now called to order. We'll begin with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with a public hearing in the matter of introductory local law number 4, 2016, entitled Veterans Tax Exemption. Corporation Counsel?
Okay. For purposes of the public, I'm sure the board is well aware of this one. There is a need to revise our local law in order to reflect the ability of the assessor based upon the new manner of tax assessments at full value. So there's a need to revise to allow the veterans to receive their statutory exemptions in the same amount as they had in the past. So that's the sum total of what this local law will accomplish.
Is there anyone that's come to address the board on this public hearing? Not seeing anyone. May I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The board will deliberate on this at your next work session, and then we can call for an approval thereafter. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to mayors and trustees announcements.
Yes. Well, I often let everybody know about what's going on in the documentary and discussion series, and I will this week, and I'm going to tie in the film, which is tomorrow night, with a new development in our recycle program in the County of Westchester. The film this month for the Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series is called Just Eat It, and it's about food waste. And one of the panelists, who I had an opportunity to speak with this week on a little internet radio show that I do sometimes. Her name is Anna Giordano. If you're active in Facebook, you may know she runs the Westchester Schools Food Recycling Program. And she is going to be one of the panelists there at the screening begins at 6:30, seating begins at 6:15, and immediately following the film, we always have a nice conversation with our panelists. And she does a lot of work with public schools throughout the county, including teaching students how to separate what is truly trash from what is recyclable, from what, in some schools, they actually have composting programs. And there's a big addition, particularly to the schools, but I imagine in many of our homes, you may have, I have show and tell tonight, milk cartons. They're called like gable-topped cartons. Is there an official name there? Anyway, milk cartons, orange juice cartons of any size, your half and half cartons. I hear somebody had a half and half carton that we didn't realize. It's just started. Put this in with your co-mingles, with your glass and plastic and metal, and it can now be recycled. The county recycle center, the MRF, is what it's called, that can now accept it. They will just sort it out from your glass, your plastic, and your metal. So we look forward to working with the schools as well to bring awareness to the milk cartons that we have in schools, where so much of that waste comes from. So if you want to learn more about food waste in general, join us tomorrow evening. That is the 19th of May at the Ossining Library at 6:30 for Just Eat It. And you can go to ossiningdocumentaries.org to learn more details. The other exciting news, if you have been in downtown Ossining, you've seen it coming, and I know that business owners in the neighborhood have come over and spoken with the guys from the Department of Public Works and said, we know it's a little bit of an inconvenience right now, but we're so excited for the new parking that is opening up and is now open. There are 3 new spots, an addition of 3 metered spots right on Main Street on that, the lower crescent, I guess we call it, across from Doka's Vaza and on the same side as the post office. So 3 new metered spots. And then in the parking lot has been created at the moment an increase of 7 spots net. But it looks like there's 1 or 2 more that might come, maybe a couple of motorcycle spots still to be painted. There's, you'll see there's a little bit of a dead area. I know that the engineer and the manager are gonna finalize the additional spots. But the good news is that there is more parking down in the heart of our downtown to help support the local businesses, and we're really pleased to have been able to add that for everyone. So go ahead and start parking. It's 3-hour free parking in the lot, and then it's the 2-hour meter parking on the street. Other colleagues on the board? Yes, sir.
I want to remind everybody about some events that are being put on by the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy on the Memorial Day weekend on Saturday from 9 to noon. We'll be at Dale Cemetery on Havel Street, and we're going to be working on cleaning some of the veterans' graves there. So it's a great opportunity to help restore these graves, some of them over 100 years old, and obviously we'll be, raising up the veterans for the weekend. Another event that I want to make you aware of is coming up on Sunday, June 5th. That's going to be a picnic and music event, also in historic Dale Cemetery. For those of you who don't know, Dale Cemetery is really a park, and it's a place where people can come and be with their lost loved ones and neighbors and friends. And many years ago, this was the general activity of Dale Cemetery. We're going to have live music there. We're going to have a violinist play. Also, Wobble Cafe will have some box lunches that they'll be selling as well. So we hope for good weather, and I think it'll be a beautiful afternoon. That's Sunday, June 5th from 1 to 4 p.m. Thanks so much.
Tell everybody about the fire parade.
Sure. The fire parade, absolutely. Yeah, I got my fingers crossed here. Saturday at 4 p.m. We'll be stepping off from just north of Roosevelt Square for the annual Ossining Fire Parade. I understand there are 42 departments that are going to be joining, and we hope for good weather. Right now, there's a 60% chance of rain. I'm just hoping those percentages go down as the days go by. Anyway, we hope to see you there. It's a great opportunity. We start up by Roosevelt Square, and we go all the way down to the river, and the reviewing stand is in the middle of downtown, right across from the post office. A great event, and hope you'll all enjoy some of New York's finest volunteer fire departments. Thanks.
Others? Madam Clerk.
We will move on to administrative reports, and we'll begin with Village Manager Abraham Zambrano.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and trustees. I have a few items for you tonight. The first one, I would like to say that the Sing Sing Kill Greenway in Ossining was selected to receive a Planning Achievement Award by the Westchester County Municipal Planning Federation. I think, again, we're very proud of the Greenway. The village will receive an award at the annual dinner on Thursday, January 2nd. And,
June 2nd.
I'm sorry, June 2nd. So I think, again, we are very proud of it, and I think it's something that is certainly making a lot of people that are familiar with the village now and are aware of this Greenway, I think, are visiting the village, and hopefully they're going to be hitting our downtown and participating and eating at the local food establishments in the village. I would like to also add, with what Mayor Gavity mentioned before about parking, we are excited about the fact that we were being able to add the additional parking spaces in the downtown. We have actually, the engineer and I have talked about, typically the corner of any lot is wasted space and is normally hatched. We thought that it would be a good idea for us to allow motorcyclists to park there, so this way they don't take a regular parking space. So we're in the process of doing that as well. And then we're still working with other private property owners in the village to be able to get more parking in the downtown, at least accessible to the tag holders for the work in the area. I would also like to report that this past week we had a Con Edison tabletop exercise, and actually this is preparing us in the eventuality of any major events this coming hurricane season. This is something that's done annually, but I think it's something that, again, we try to keep on top of and just try to remember some of the practices that we need to try to remember in the process when emergencies do hit. I will also like to report that actually, well, I will like to ask our residents to please help us keep Austin clean, pick up litter if you see it. I know this is a very, something that I'm very, it's very important to me, and I'm sure to the elected officials under the department. So help us keep Austin clean. The last thing that I would like to report to, well, say tonight is that after having attended the police award ceremony this evening, I want to congratulate all the officers and all the civilians that have helped keep Austin safe. It makes me very proud to be part of this community. So thank you, Chief, for leading such a department. Thank you. That's all I have this evening.
Move on to Corporation Counsel, Lori Lee Dixon.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm happy to report that after a reading period and a round of finals, that my extern, my former intern, now the extern from Pace University School of Law, has started full-time with us for the next 8 weeks at least, and she is already quickly working on projects assigned by planning and building and the police department, and we're excited to be able to bring things forward. Because she's with us full-time, we're hoping to earmark a project that she can take start to finish and bring in and make a presentation to you. She's looking forward to working on behalf of the village, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to offer her this opportunity. And thank you to Pace University, who's providing her to us for credit for the next 8 weeks, which means not on the payroll. So we appreciate that. I'd like to reiterate my usual reminder to individuals. We're holding tag sales. It's that season again, and I'm noticing quite a lot of tag sale signs that are outdated. I just wanted to remind individuals that it is actually the law to return to the locations on the telephone poles and remove the signs and put them in your recycling. They'll be picked up on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, so I encourage that happening. And also, just a reminder, adhering a sign directly to a tree is not acceptable, and I did a walk around with the Lynn Brooks Avni last week for the Museum in the Streets project, and I noticed, to my chagrin, a number of signs adhere directly to the trees. So it's not a good thing, and I would recommend that you find alternative places to post your tag sales, and then after you've reaped in all the benefits from that, returning and removing them from the poles. Just one item, just to follow up to tonight's public hearing. Because this requirement is necessary for the taxable status date of June 1st, I would ask that if you see no impediments next week following your deliberations, I would ask that you might consider a vote next week. It has to be in place before June 1st, and your next legislative session isn't until June 1st, so it would be late if we waited that long. So it's just something to think about. I'd appreciate it very much, and I know the assessor would too as well. There is actually one item on the agenda this evening. It's calling for a public hearing and introductory local law number 5. We talked about this at work session last week. This is specifically addressing some traffic and circulation concerns with a neighborhood near Osage Drive. It's adding 2 stop signs, one where Susquehanna meets Osage, and one where Yerkes Lane meets Osage, and then on the loop, continuing around the other side of Osage, it's the placement of a yield sign. This was an appropriate place to also add the authority and delegation of the placement of such signs, minor matters, as a traffic regulation instead of a local law. So we talked about this last week. The state statute, Vehicles and Traffic Law, allows you to delegate that authority to an appropriate individual, and we've chosen to vest that delegation with the village manager's office. So I certainly think it's a wonderful idea. It has due process built into it. The law is already in the news crawl on the website. It is available at the clerk's office, and I will also make sure that the illustration that I provided to you all last week gets uploaded as well, so they can see the 3 signs that are being proposed in that neighborhood. So thank you very much.
Move on to Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
I'd like to thank all of the board and village department heads and things that came to our award ceremony tonight. It's really important to the men and women of our police department to have your support, so it was really great to see so many of you here, and we really appreciate that. I have one major announcement today. It's one I've been waiting so long to break. This week, Westchester County has released their announcements about the patrol officers exam. This is the single most effective way for us to change the way our department does business. This determines who we're eligible to hire and what our department's going to look like for the future. In the past, we've had some participation from the community. This is an excellent opportunity for a fantastic job. For our young people, we have a residence preference list, which my recommendation to the board will be that we work with the town. Going forward, we're going to be able to include their residents on our preference list so that everyone in Ossining would be eligible to be on our resident preference list for the Ossining Police Department. We think that's a really great opportunity to hire local people and keep jobs here. That exam is going to be coming up in November. The open sign-up period is relatively small. It's going to go from June 25th to June 27th to July 25th. The test is given in English, and there is a Spanish-speaking police officer exam so that we would have an opportunity to look at those candidates who would have a specialty in speaking Spanish, which is always something very, very useful in the village of Ossining. So we encourage everyone from the community that fits the criteria for this. There is an age limit on it, but everyone that's eligible and interested, if you think you might be interested, if you're not sure if you're interested, this test comes around once every 4 years. It's really, really important that people at least take the chance and take the exam. They can always make their decision later.
Do you know off the top of your head what the age limit is?
I believe it's 36 by the time of the exam.
That's the cap. You have to be 18 to take it, I
You have to be 18 to take it. You have to be 20 and a half, I think, when you graduate the academy. You can get more details from humanresources.westchester.gov, and they'll have the application online there when it comes available. But right now, you can go there and see all of the residency requirements as far as living in New York State. You have to have a driver's license, and there's a few other minor things you'd have to have in line. So really excited about that, and we hope that we get a great turnout.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing those names.
Chief Scarduzio requested that I read his brief report. Please excuse my absences as we're doing a walkthrough of the new waterfront project this evening. The fire department has responded to 286 alarms with no major losses. And a reminder to all residents, the Ossining Fire Department Parade will be held this Saturday. The parade will start at 4 p.m., rain or shine.
Oh, my. All right. Get our galoshes out for the parade if needed.
Move on to Superintendent of Parks and Recreations, Christopher Soy.
Hey there.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. My report for the month April 21st to May 18th, Recreation Program Report. I would like to start briefly by highlighting our swim lesson program. As this spring season, we are running approximately 95% of our lesson sections we offer. We are currently serving 187 participants in 39 separate lesson sections. Most of these sections are at or near full enrollment. This season, we are facilitating an 8-session program, and we have swimmers ranging in age from 6 months old to 52 years old. These registration numbers certainly point to a high demand from the community, so in upcoming seasons, we will be exploring ways to increase our swim lesson offerings to meet the demand. Our summer day camp registration is ongoing. We have reached our registration maximums at this time in Veterans Park Camp as well as our Ryder Park Camp, but we are managing wait lists for each. Anyone still interested in registering their child for either of these camps can contact the recreation office and have their child placed on the appropriate wait list. Our other 3 camp programs have open registration and are accepting registrations on a space available basis. I encourage parents to register their children as soon as possible to secure a spot and to avoid any enrollment issues that may result from waiting. Those who are interested and have camp-related questions can call the Recreation Department at 941-3189 or check our department's webpage at thevillageofossining.org for more detailed camp information. Recreation Department staff are currently working diligently in preparation of the camp season. Camp staff are being interviewed and hired. Camper paperwork is being sorted and filed. Materials and supplies are being ordered. Entertainers and enrichment programs are being booked, and trips and special events are being scheduled. I would like to recognize Recreation Supervisor Bob Chesna, Recreation Assistant Brenna Burrows, front desk clerks Luz Breeze and Gabe Cardona, and our senior clerk Marilyn Caden for all their hard work in the run-up to the camp season. We are also offering a variety of week-long sport and specialty camps this summer. Details on the majority of these camps are being finalized, and information will be distributed to the community within the next week. These programs will include a creative art program, a basketball camp, science programs, multi-sports camps, and a mini travel program. On the Parks and Facilities side, the Parks Department has been focused primarily on our annual early to mid-spring seasonal duties and maintenance tasks, the parks, and other areas of responsibilities. Duties include the athletic field and facility prep and maintenance, park facility and playground maintenance, grass cutting, cutting and trimming of trees and shrubs, general beautification and landscaping projects that involve cleaning, mulching, and planting throughout the village. Park staff also continue to clean and assist in the maintenance of the new Sing Sing Kill Greenway. Finally, our department, with assistance from the Austin Community Tennis Association, held a ceremony honoring the late Shannon Ross on Friday, May 6th, which took place at the Community Center's multipurpose room. Approximately 100 friends, family members, and acquaintances were in attendance. During the ceremony, Shannon's contribution to Ossining and the Ossining tennis community was recognized by a citation presented from Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff's office, a few kind words spoken by County Legislator Catherine Borgia, a proclamation from the town of Ossining, as well as a resolution presented by the mayor from the village. At the ceremony, the village officially named the tennis courts at Nelson Park the Shannon Ross Tennis Courts. The family has extended their sincere appreciation to the village for this recognition and honoring of Shannon. Thank you.
Chris, I want to say the plantings and the mulch in downtown look great. Thanks so much to the Parks crews for turning their attention to our downtown. It's always nice to see that particularly the Sasinoto Triangle is a big focal point for our downtown. And you've been very busy with signs. Thank you so much. The signs of the Greenway look terrific, and we look forward to, at some point in the not-too-distant future, getting to cut the ribbon at Henry Gordine Park. I see those signs have gone up, and I look forward to checking out the Shannon Ross tennis court sign now that is it in position now
it's
on the
installed.
court?
Yep.
Great. Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Treasurer Thomas Warren.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
Tonight's agenda includes a resolution to establish a capital project for street resurfacing and related sidewalk work in 2016 in the amount of $680,000, and a corresponding bond resolution to authorize issuance of a serial bond of $250,000. The 2015 financial statement audit is complete, and we're expecting the written report this week and discussion by one of the firm partners at an upcoming board work session. We received our first quarter sales tax distribution from the county at $887,462, which is an increase of 3.57%, about $30,000 from the amount received for the first quarter in 2015, and brings us to 24.5% of budget estimates for 2016. We are also nearing the end of the 2-year redemption period for 2014 tax liens, which were 2013 unpaid property taxes, with the redemption period ending next week on May 25th. For these 2014 tax liens, the Deputy Corporation Counsel has sent letters to the property owners. We had also published the required legal notices, and our office has been contacting the taxpayers and banks and other interested parties. Unfortunately, several of the tax liens will go unredeemed by next Wednesday, the expiration date. Some of the reasons are that the town has already has a lien on these properties and will be taking them to auction. Several of the property owners have indicated that they will be approaching us to ask if we would allow redemption of the tax liens after the redemption date. If any taxpayers have any questions, they can contact the Finance Department at 941-2581, or contact us daily till 4:30, and also email me at twarren@villageofaustin.org. On a related matter and a positive sign, all unpaid tax liens for all years totals less than $320,000, which is about $92,000 less than the amount of tax liens a year ago. And also for 2016 property taxes, we're at 52.5% collected for the second tax installment due in July 2016. And finally, our Munis financial and accounting system implementation continues. We've sat with the implementer for 9 days now to analyze our system and to discuss our financial needs. And we are working on developing the new chart of accounts, which is the first big deliverables task that's required by Munis, which hopefully we'll be able to deliver that by Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
That completes our administrative reports. Moves on to organizational announcements. Village Board resolutions. Does anyone want to comment on a resolution? Not seeing anyone, we'll go into adoption. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the minutes of the May 4th, 2016 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the minutes of the May 11th, 2016 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated May 18th, 2016, in the amount of $410,862.34. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street in Ossing on June 1st, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard, to consider the matter of introductory local law number 5, 2016, entitled Vehicle and Traffic, to address traffic and circulation concerns of the residents in the neighborhood of Osage Drive, with further additions to Chapter 250 to provide for the authority and establish appropriate criteria and due process for delegation to the village manager of certain powers currently reserved for the Board of Trustees under this chapter. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
On the board, I will just comment that I'm pleased to be moving this forward in response to concerns raised by community members about the clarity of exactly what traffic should be doing at any given time, and then also this includes the opportunity for us to streamline the process when there is signage changes that's going to be taking place. It certainly provides for plenty of ample opportunity for the board to weigh in if we are concerned or want to better understand the decision-making that's being recommended by our department heads, but it does speed things along when there's a simple sign that can be put in place that will help the benefit of the community. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas pursuant to Chapter 216 of the Ossing Village Code, the Board of Trustees acknowledges receipt of a request dated March 9th, 2016, by Victor D. February and Victor February for a setback waiver in connection with a sidewalk cafe permit for the business Pine and Oak American Bistro located at 199 Main Street. And whereas at a public meeting on May 11th, 2016, the board reviewed the request and considered the totality of circumstances. Now therefore be it resolved that the village board hereby finds that the requested waivers from the 4-foot setback to the pre-existing village-maintained tree planter and sign on the public sidewalk are appropriate, since A, it would not impede circulation, traffic flow, or parking in the vicinity. B, neither the pre-existing sign nor the planter could be relocated. C, access to adjacent properties and businesses would not be disrupted. And D, the retractable belt barrier to be used by the applicant is portable and not fastened to the sidewalk, making it easily removable in the event of emergency requiring immediate access to the entirety of the sidewalk area. And be it further resolved that for the reasons stated above, pursuant to Section 216-4K of the Code, the Village of Austin Board of Trustees hereby approves a waiver for the 4-foot setback requirement from the pre-existing village-maintained tree planter and sign located on the sidewalk in front of the subject property at 199 Main Street. And be it further resolved that the waiver granted herein shall be personal to the entity Pine and Oak American Bistro, not a right which runs with the land, and such waiver shall be valid and run concurrent with the underlying Sidewalk Cafe license to wit April 1 through October 31st, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board, I'll just say, we look forward to having the Sidewalk Cafe in place and in compliance. It's always nice to be able to sit out on Main Street and enjoy our local businesses. So happy to be moving this forward. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas pursuant to Chapter 100 and 171 of the Code of the Village of Austin, the authorized representatives of two businesses, Tierras Tropicalis and Atlantic Bar, have made application to the village clerk as licensing officer for cabaret licenses for live music, and whereas pursuant to Section 100-3 and 100-5 of the Code, the village clerk has caused an investigation into said application and referred to the same to the Board of Trustees for final approval. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the Code, the Board of Trustees hereby approves cabaret licenses for the nights Thursday through Saturday from 1 p.m. to 2 a.m. for A, Atlantic Bar, and B, Tierras Tropicalis. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution authorizing the reconstruction, resurfacing of streets throughout and in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $680,000, and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $250,000 serial bonds of said village to pay part of the cost thereof. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than two-thirds of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the reconstruction, resurfacing of streets throughout and in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, including sidewalks, curbs, gutters, drainage, landscaping, grading, or improving rights-of-way, and other improvements and costs incidental thereto, is hereby authorized, subject to permissive referendum, at a total maximum estimate of $680,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. A, by the issuance of $250,000 serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. B, by the expenditure of $200,000 available funds. And C, by receipt of $230,000 in grant funds. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid class of objects or purposes is 10 years, pursuant to subdivision 20 of paragraph A of section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the serial bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 9, under this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with a notice of the village clerk in substantially the form provided in Section 81 of the local finance law. Section 8, this resolution is adopted, subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Treasurer and the Manager and DPW for moving forward with, this is certainly an expansion in our dedication, appropriation of funds for road paving. Since the Great Recession, most of our paving is, certainly roads have been paved. Usually it's in conjunction with, it's either using CHIPS money or it's in conjunction with road work that needs to be done as part of a water or sewer project. And keeping our roads functioning well is really at the foundation of what municipal government needs to do. We make sure your roads are paved, your trash is picked up, you have clean water to drink, and you are protected. So this is really where the rubber meets the road, quite literally. And so I look forward to moving this forward.
Okay, this is a roll call vote. Excuse me. Quantel Bazemore?
Yeah. Aye.
It was your
Trustee
street.
Codman,
Aye.
trustee Kazada,
Aye.
trustee Levin. Aye. And Mayor Garrity.
Aye. Looking for trouble tonight.
Resolve the 2016 Streets and Sidewalks resurfacing capital project budget is established in the amount of $680,000 to be funded with CHIPS state aid of $230,000, serial bond proceeds of $250,000, and a transfer for the general fund of $200,000 as follows. Increased general fund appropriations, account number 001-9550, 0850, account name, general fund, transfer to capital fund, $200,000. Increased general fund appropriated fund balance, account number 001-0001-0599, appropriated fund balance, $200,000. Increased capital projects appropriation, account number 505-5122, 2173, streets and sidewalks resurfacing, 2016, an amount of $680,000. Increased capital project estimated revenues, account number 505-05-3501-0173, New York State CHIPS State Aid, Streets and Sidewalk Resurfacing, 2016, $230,000. 505-05-05-5710-0173, serial bonds, Streets and Sidewalk Resurfacing, 2016, $250,000. 505-05-05-5031-0173, interfund transfer from general fund, Streets and Sidewalk Resurfacing, 2016, $200,000. Increased capital project estimated revenues, $680,000. Project number 2173, Streets and Sidewalk Resurfacing, 2016, for $680,000. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby removes Ryan Thompson from the active roles of the Ossining Fire Department Independent Hose Company Number 6. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby removes Joe Gizzi from the active roles of the Ossining Fire Department's Monitor Hose Company Number 4. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That brings us to continuing business of the board.
And we do have some tonight.
Yes, we do.
Corporation Counsel and
Yes.
Manager Zambrano want to fill us in here?
We did receive a request for an extension of approval granted by this board on December 3rd. It was by resolution granting approval to the development Hudson Step for an 18 months. We did receive a request for an extension. I did ask the council, Bruce Lazito, representing the owner of the property, to come and give you a summary of the status and the reasons for the request at this time. It was a two-part request. This board is the special permit approving agency, and the planning board thereafter is the site plan approving agency.
And the request is for a 6-month extension and to be able to continue with the project.
Thank you. Mr. Lozito, would you like to tell us how the project is going and what's going to happen in the next 6 months?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see most of you again and some of you for the first time. Again, my name is Bruce Lozito, representing Ossining Land, LLC. And as Lori Lee mentioned, we were before your board back in December, actually 2014, for the Village Board's waterfront special permit for Hudson Step. And I think probably all of you are familiar with the project. It's at 34 State Street. It's a mixed-use project with 189 residential units and 7,500 square feet of office space in a to-be restored Smith Robinson House, a local historic landmark that's going to be restored as part of the project. And Your board granted the approval on December 3rd, 2014, which enabled the planning board then to negotiate and finalize its negotiations for a density bonus. And they required of us a very elaborate and comprehensive package of community benefits in order to achieve the density bonus that we had requested. I mentioned in my letter it involves the historic preservation, affordable housing, a myriad of infrastructure improvements to village infrastructure, and also green building design for the construction of the project. And we spent 2015 getting that approval from the planning board, as well as a host of other approvals from the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Board of Architectural Review. We finished those in 2015 and spent the early part of this year addressing all of the conditions of those approvals with your village staff and consultants, and I think we are 99.9% through with those. We have made an application for a building permit. We submitted that in January, and also a demolition permit that would enable us to take down the existing industrial building and perform the restoration of the Smith Robinson House as the first stage of the project. So I think that'll be a big first step to clean up the old and deteriorated structures that are on the site and restore that historic building to its former grandeur. The building department has had our application since January. I think there was a bit of a wrinkle in that they decided to enlist a third-party plans reviewer, and I guess there has been some delay in that. There was one in mind, and for whatever reason that didn't come to fruition, and I think they're very close to retaining a different reviewer at this point. And we were also advised recently that we need to complete an asbestos abatement project at the existing buildings, both the industrial buildings and Smith Robinson, before they can actually issue the building permit. And that's a fairly extensive undertaking due to the amount of asbestos that's on the site. So we asked for what we think is the minimum reasonable time period to ensure that the building permit review is completed and we can complete the abatement so we can get that building permit and satisfy the special permit requirement. So that's kind of where we are.
There was no awareness up until very recently that there would be asbestos abatement required with
We
such old
knew
buildings?
that toward the end of last year, but we didn't realize it had to be completed before the building permit was issued. So that was something that we learned recently. We thought that could be a condition of the building permit or what have you. So now we know that, and so we're getting that underway. We had to notify the Department of Labor, New York State Department of Labor, before we started that work, and that notification has been done. So we should be able to start that work in 10 business days. That's the time period that the Department of Labor has.
And that came up actually as a result of some of the review that hadn't been done correctly, or I should say thoroughly in the past. So that's the reason for that. Also, as far as the reviewer, actually, we had a couple of situations where the initial entity that was hired to do the plan review, we did not feel confident enough to be able to go forward with that. So that's why we ended up switching gears, being able to kind of make sure that everything was being done properly. So that did delay some of the process that we had internally, again, to ascertain that everything was being done correctly, and so we can move forward with all certainty that everything is in accordance with zoning. So.
Well, we certainly want to move forward correctly, but yes, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, the asbestos abatement is, that's a big one. I'm wondering, is 6 months enough? I mean, to be honest with you, you've got a lot on your plate, and it sounds like you have a very, assuming we would approval tonight, it would be a pretty tight timeline, correct?
We wanted to ask for something that we felt the board would be comfortable with, but if you're willing to give us 9 months, that would be ideal.
I'm not an expert enough to know what's a reasonable amount of time to provide an extension for.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just concerned. I don't want to have to come back and do this again, I guess.
Well, I think it might be nice to have a review at 6 months. This is the amount that was recommended. Unfortunately, since Lynn's not here to speak to it, I'd rather we just move forward with what was brought to us.
I think that on our end, the abatement, we should be able to take care of that. We obviously don't control the village process, and we'll just assume that that's going to work fine now that they're back on track with that. So if it's 6 months, it's 6 months, we'll work with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll look forward to an exciting update in 6 months, wherever you are.
Hopefully, you'll see a lot happening before.
Yes, we'll take a little walk around. Mr. Lozito, I'm sorry to hear that it seems like there is some, stops and starts, and sometimes it's, whenever we're contributing to that, I'm particularly sorry to hear that, so I hope that it's smooth sailing from here for the next 6 months.
I think we're all working well together.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. I've not heard bad things about the relationship, so I'm glad that you feel it's mutual. And we look forward to a lot of the infrastructure projects that you're contributing to moving forward as well. There is one concern about the property, and I'm sure it's just a minor thing in the whole scope of what you're looking to do, but it is such a large property that, as you pointed out, has a lot of buildings that just are looking to be demolished, and construction hasn't even begun. But neighbors have sometimes brought to our awareness concern about keeping weeds and overgrowth cut back, and is there some awareness on your part to keep an eye on that more
Just
regularly,
happened to drive by the
particularly?
site before I came tonight.
And how does it look?
I see well the lawn is.
Yeah, a little property maintenance.
We
would
did
be
put a
helpful.
construction fence around it that stopped the littering and the trespassing that was problematic, and the building department had brought to our attention. So that seems to have been resolved, but we have to get on top of the lawn cutting, and I will report that first thing in the morning.
Well, I'm glad we came to the right person to help us out with that. Thank you very much.
Do you have any idea of actual hiring people from the neighborhood? Is there any local hiring?
We haven't really gotten that far yet. Client has retained a construction manager to oversee the construction effort, and I can certainly. We did try to get a local contractor involved with the demolition.
Okay.
But competitively, it just didn't work out. So we are mindful of that.
Okay.
We have a lot of landscapers in the area.
We are
You're looking for
local
somebody to do
person.
some lawn work. All right, thank you very much. Was there anything else we need to
If the board is amenable, then Corporation Counsel can certainly just have a quick resolution so that we have it for the record, that the board has agreed to the extension.
All right.
Sure, we could say, whereas a request has been made to extend previously approved special use,
Waterfront special.
waterfront special use permit, set to expire on June 3rd, 2015, and whereas 16, and whereby the village sees no impediment to approving that 6-month extension at this time. Therefore, be it resolved that the approval is extended for 6 months till December 3rd of 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you
There
very
go.
much.
6
Appreciate
more
it.
months.
We'll
We'll
be
see you
back.
in December.
Move on to new business of the board.
Anything new? All right, nothing this week.
Move on to visitor recognition. Might I have a motion to adjourn for advice of counsel?
And also, I'm sorry, I
An issue of
also will
personnel,
request,
we're-
issue of personnel, Mayor,
Relate-
so, in executive session for a specific individual.
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And so with that, we thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that you'll join us again next week. We will be back at Village Hall, 16 Croton Avenue. It's, yes, we will, but okay, we've got 2 meetings next week. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, our regular work session will be on the 25th, Wednesday, at 7:30 at Village Hall. Very exciting agenda for that. Before we even get to our regular work session, we have a special multi-board meeting taking place next Tuesday at the Ossining Library. It's the town board's usual meeting date, but we're going to be having a multi-board meeting. Our village board, town board, we've invited some of the other taxing entities to join us. I know there'll be representatives from the school district joining us. There are 2 items on the agenda. One of them is related to our Ossining water system, and the other one is related to exploring opportunities for us to expand our shared services that will help us to stay within the tax cap and always looking for more government efficiencies. So it'll be a really exciting agenda. We're looking forward to our first multi-board meeting, and that's at the Ossining Library at 7:30 next week. I think the town may be having their meeting a little bit in advance of that to get through some of their work. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next week.